Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing some macro photography with my mobile phone, and I'm going to be using these two lenses that Apexel have kindly sent out to me. Apexel are also the sponsor of today's video, and they currently have an end of year sale, and if you want to save even more money you can use code JamiePhoto in checkout, and I'll link all the products I use in today's video in the description. Now I typically do macro photography with an actual camera and lens setup like this, so I think it'll be very interesting to see what results I can get with my phone and these lenses here. Before I get out there and start taking photos, I'm going to quickly run through the specs of these two lenses and show you how you mount it to your phone. For both lenses you get this bracket, and all you want to do is put this over your phone, put it up to where your phone lens is, and then you can unscrew this top bit here and that will loosen the left to right axis, and you can adjust that so it's sitting directly over your phone's camera lens. Once you've done this, you simply filter thread the lens onto your bracket and you're good to go. If the bracket is a little loose, they provide these little pads and this will make sure it fits nice and securely. Now moving on to the lenses, the first one we have is the Zoom Macro 10 to 20 times macro lens. This is a wide angle macro lens, and as the name suggests, you can zoom from 10 times magnification all the way to 20 times magnification. It has an f1.05 aperture, giving you a really nice out of focus background, and it makes it look more like it was taken on an actual camera. Build quality is great, it feels very high quality and seems as if it's made fully of metal. It's very lightweight and small, which means you can literally just throw it in your pocket if you want to take it out with you. It's quite affordable too, costing £41, and I'm pretty sure it's on sale at the moment. Next up we have the 6x zoom, telephoto and macro lens. This lens is a telephoto lens, meaning it's great for photographing things far away and for getting portraits with blurry backgrounds. The lens has a focus ring which allows you to focus close and even get macro shots. And if you want to get even closer macro shots, you can attach this little macro lens filter onto the end of your lens. Just like the other lens, build quality is great, it feels quite metallic and sturdy. And this lens is a little bit more expensive than the other lens, coming in at £49. I'm also going to be using this macro ring light later on in the video, and this costs £16. But I think that's enough talking, so let's go out there in the field and get some shots. Just found a couple small mushrooms on the floor, and I think while I'm photographing these, I'm going to tell you what phone I use and what sort of process I'm using to photograph with my phone. So the phone I'm using is the Google Pixel 7a. It's quite a budget phone, it's around £300, and the normal camera app doesn't allow you to manually choose your settings. So what I'm doing is using Lightroom. So once I'm in Lightroom, there's this camera icon in the bottom right. I click on that and that opens up the camera. And as you can see, you've got all the custom settings on the right. So I've got my shutter speed, ISO, white balance, and then this is the focus. So I can focus close or I can focus far. And as you can see on the left, it says DNG. So all these photos are going to be shot in RAW, which means later on I can edit them and customize them to my liking. I think I'm going to photograph this little mushroom here because I like the shape of it and I really like the background as well with that light. So I'm going to start out by setting my focus to the minimum, and then I'm going to frame up my subject. And then what I'm going to do is focus just before the mushroom is in focus. And then I'm going to take a picture. And then I'm going to take another one at 10% focus. And then take another one at 20% focus. And what I'm doing here essentially is focus stacking, or focus bracketing I should say. And then later on I'll focus stack. So I'm going to take another one at 30%. And I'm going to keep doing this until I get all the way to 100%, and that should give me a lot of different shots at different focal planes. And then later on I'll stack those using Zarine Stacker, and I should have more of my mushroom in focus. Another reason I'm using the Lightroom app is because the default camera app does not allow manual focus. And when you're doing macro, you want precise focus. You don't want to use autofocus most of the time. I think that should be enough shots, so hopefully that stack turned out well. I'm now going to compare the two lenses by photographing these little mushrooms on this twig. I'm going to start off with the telephoto lens, and I think I'm going to pick some mushrooms down this end of the twig because they look a lot nicer. So I've got the mushroom in focus now, and one thing you may notice is that the working distance is really big. One thing that's a bit annoying about this lens is that you have a circle around the edge of your frame. You can get around this by using another lens on your phone or zooming in. I can't use another lens while I'm in the Lightroom app, so I have to zoom in, or I can crop in later when I'm editing. However, it's not ideal to crop in because it's a phone image, so when you crop in, you're going to lose a lot of quality. For this test, I'm just going to do a single image for each lens, so it's a fair comparison. So I'm going to frame up these two little mushrooms here and take a shot of that. Cool, so there's our shot with the telephoto lens, and I'm actually not done with it yet because there's a little lens attachment you can screw onto the end of your telephoto lens, and that gives you more magnification. So let's get a shot with that. I've now got the little lens attachment on, and the first thing you'll notice is that my working distance has decreased, so I'm a lot closer to the mushrooms. I'm going to frame up those 2 mushrooms again and get a shot. Cool, so there's our shot with the telephoto lens and the little lens attachment on the end of it. I'm now going to switch to the wide angle zoom and see what these same mushrooms look like with that lens. I'm going to start by zooming all the way out, and then I'm going to get another shot where I'm zoomed in. So let's try out the widest angle first. And one thing you may notice is how incredibly close I have to get to the mushroom. I'm basically touching it. I'm literally like a centimetre away. I've got the mushroom framed up, so let's take a shot. Cool, so there's our shot at the widest angle on this lens. I'm now going to zoom all the way in to the tightest angle and get a shot with that. The first thing I've noticed is that I'm less magnified now, and I'm also a tiny bit further away from the mushroom. Let's frame up the mushroom and take a shot. Cool, so there's our shot with the wide angle lens zoomed all the way in, and hopefully that was a good comparison to show you the differences between the 2 lenses. I've just found a couple of mushrooms growing out of this stick, and I think this would be a great subject to test out the ring light that Apexel sent me. So to attach the light to your lens, all you got to do is filter thread it on, and this lens you don't need any adapters, but if you're using the other lens, it's obviously a lot skinnier on the end, and they provide a filter adapter so you can use it with that lens. So to turn the light on, all you do is hold the power button and it turns on, and then you can press the power button to change the brightness. So that's the lowest, and then if you press it like 3 times, I think it is, or 4 times, you get to the maximum brightness. To show you the different lighting effects, I'm going to screen record and then flick through the different modes live. So here is the standard white light, then we've got the standard white light lit from below, then we've got the standard white light lit from above, then we've got a warmer light and it does the same, so lighting from the bottom, light from the top, then we've got warmer light, bottom, top, and then back to the original white light. I think I quite like when it's lit from above with the white light, it looks quite natural, so I think I'm going to stick for that for this shot. So I'm going to start taking the pictures, and I'm going to focus bracket this one. So let's take the first picture, then we're going to shift the focus, take another one, shift the focus again, take another one, shift the focus again, take a picture, and then do it again until we've got all the way to the back of the mushroom, which is about there. And it's not going to be perfect because it's quite hard to focus bracket on a phone like this. The cool thing about these phone macro lenses is that you don't have to use them for photos all the time. They include this little eye cup, and what you do with this is place it on the back of your lens. You can then put the lens up against your eye and inspect your subject closely. This can be quite useful for when you're trying to find really small subjects. For example, I've been going out to the woods quite a lot recently doing some macro photography, and a lot of the subjects I photograph are so small that they're really hard to spot with the naked eye. So this lens will just make it a lot easier to spot those subjects. I just found a nice little Gallerina mushroom on the end of a stick, and I've used a bigger stick to weigh it down. And the reason I'm weighing it down is so I can have it sticking out from this log, and that means I can easily get in there and get a photograph. I'm quite liking the landscape composition, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm just going to raise my ISO slightly to about 590 or 600, 580 will do. And then I'm going to start out focusing right at the back, and then I'm going to take a picture and then alter the focus to about 90. Take another one and then keep doing it until we're finished. Alright, I think I've bracketed enough shots there, so hopefully the final image turns out really nice. I've now used the Apexel lenses for some time, so I'm going to let you know what I think about them. Both lenses are very different, but my favourite has to be the wide angle one. I really like how the image looks with this lens on, and it's really sharp as well. Phones struggle to get natural depth of field, but with this lens on, you get a really nice creamy out of focus background with nice bokeh balls. And don't we all love some smooth bokeh balls? From looking at my images, there doesn't seem to be any chromatic aberration or vignetting, which is great. The lens is very fun and simple to use out in the field, but there are a couple things I don't like about this lens. The first being the working distance. You get about a few centimeters away from your subject, which means you can't frame your shot exactly how you wanted. Depending on the lighting, you can sometimes get so close that your lens casts a shadow onto your subject. I can imagine this lens being really difficult to use to photograph bugs because you have to get so close that the bugs will likely be scared away. Another thing I don't like about this lens, and this is probably nitpicking at this point, is the zoom ring is a bit stiff and it's quite hard to turn when you've got it attached to your phone. And I was also quite confused whether I was zooming in or out. I might just be stupid, I don't know, but I swear I was twisting it towards the plus and it was zooming out rather than in. But yeah, that might just be a me problem, I don't know. Just before I talk about the other lens, I'm going to talk about the ring light. I'm not really a fan of ring lights and I've never really used one for macro photography. However, I really like how you can change the position of the light, so you can have it up top or on the bottom. And this just makes for a more dynamic lighting as opposed to having the typical ring light you get on ring lights. I like how easy the light is to use. All you gotta do is screw it onto the end of your lens, and then you've got two buttons to control the modes and power of your light. There's a couple things I don't like about the light, the first being the battery life. I was using pretty much the full brightness and it seemed to die quite quickly. But that's to be expected with a light that's this small and there's no really obvious battery in it. I think this is probably where the battery is, and this was also the other problem with the light, because when I was getting so close to my subject, this seems to kind of get in the way and I couldn't get the composition I wanted because this was sticking into the ground. But for the price of £16, this light is excellent really, it does the job and you can't really complain at that price. I'm now going to share my thoughts on the Telemacro 6x zoom lens. I mainly use this lens to do macro photography, and the first thing I noticed was that the working distance was a lot better than the other lens. This meant I could frame up and compose my shot exactly how I wanted because I didn't have to get so close to my subject. My phone's default camera can only go to 2x, so using this telephoto lens meant I could photograph things a lot further away with a lot better quality. However, I would say the image quality on this lens isn't as good as the wide angle macro lens. There seems to be some noticeable chromatic aberration, and around the edges of the frame it seems to be quite blurry. One thing I didn't like about this lens is that when you're shooting with it, you have this black circle around the edge of your image, and to get around that you have to zoom in or crop in later, and obviously that's not good because it will mean you'll lose quality and your image won't look as sharp. However, it is a lot better doing that as opposed to just shooting with the phone and digitally zooming in to get the same sort of shot. But yeah, that's everything I've got to say about the Apexel phone lenses. And to summarize, I think using a mobile phone to do photography obviously isn't as good as using a camera, but the lenses are very cheap and it's just an easy way to improve your image quality as opposed to using the standard phone lens. I think these phone lenses are great for people who want to get into photography but don't want to spend hundreds on a camera and lens setup. And I think these phone lenses are great for photographers too because they're quite small, you can just throw it in your bag and you can take a photo with your phone just to ID something, or you can use the eyepiece to try and find something on a log that's really small, so it's just quite handy. If you're interested in any of the Apexel products I've used in today's video, I'll link them all in the description, and those will be affiliate links, meaning I'll get a small commission at no cost for you, which will help support the channel. There's an end of year sale on at the moment, but if you want to save even more money, use code JamiePhoto at checkout. But I'm going to call it there for today's video, so if you've enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.